Hi, my name's Donna Nixon, and I'm a cancer survivor. I just wanted to let everybody know that it was terrifying when I got diagnosed. I went and had my yearly medical and told my medical person that I thought I had a bleeding hemorrhoid. And she says, well, just a minute, the doctor's in the office that deals with, like he's a specialist in this field, let me go get him. And he came in and he put his finger up my backside and said, I feel something there, I'm not sure what it is, but I'd like to send you for a colonoscopy. So I went and had a colonoscopy, and he asked me to come to his office and meet him. And I remember that day very clearly, and at the same time, it feels like a big blur. And I'm sure anybody that has been told they've had cancer can relate to that. So I went into his office. His receptionist was absolutely amazing. She told me to fill out some forms and have a seat, and the doctor would be with me shortly. And then I went in to see the doctor, and he sat me down and he said, well, I got your test results back. Did you want the good news or the bad news first? And I said, okay, I'll take the bad news first. And he said this very quickly. He said, well, you have rectal cancer, but this is what we're going to do. You're very young, you're healthy, and we're going to do this. We're going to get you in, we're going to do an operation, but first we're going to send you for radiation and do chemo, and we're going to shrink it, and then we're going to do this. And then after that, I'm like, I didn't really hear much else. And then he finished, and he said, so you're going to survive no matter what. I know it. And I remember him saying that. So I remember the words, you have cancer, and him flipping to what he was going to do to save my life, and then a blur, and then hearing that he was sure that I would make it through all of this. But I felt like I'd been hit by a Mack truck or ran into a wall, or however you want to describe it, because at my age, and this still makes me tear up a little bit, I never ever thought I would hear those words. I was working full time. I was volunteering at like many different things. I was looking at going back to school and getting more education. I was like very busy. I was raising a beautiful young daughter. I'm a single mommy, and I was not ever expecting any of that. My mom at the time was getting worse with her dementia, and my dad started having trouble with taking care of her, and this all happened at the same time. Just to back up a little bit, after I got that diagnosis from the doctor, I went out into my car and I sat and just kind of let the news sink into my bones and really let it settle in. And then the waterworks started, and I cried. And I called my sister, and I told my sister, and she consoled me the best way she could and told me I wasn't alone in this fight. And then I had driven myself to that appointment, and I had to drive myself home. And I honestly cannot say I remember that drive. but I got home safely. And my dad, I called my mom and dad, and because I knew my mom was sick, I really didn't want to tell her what I had just found out, but I wanted to make sure my dad knew so that if something had happened, that he would already know what was going on with me and he could focus on taking care of mom at the time. So within the matter of a few months, my dad had asked almost my permission, or said, Dee, you think it'd be a good idea if it'd be okay if I put mom in a care place for people with dementia? And I said, absolutely, Dad, because she was starting to get mean and almost vicious with my dad. And I didn't want anything to happen to my dad, because if my mom ever hurt my dad, she would never forgive herself. But at the same time, she wouldn't really understand that she was hurting my dad. So it was kind of a scary time for that. And when I called down to talk to my dad a couple weeks after, my mom answered the phone and she was mad at me because she said, I'm mad that you're here and you're in the garage and you haven't come into the house to see me. And I don't want you to not come in and see me, Dee. I want you to come into the house. Why are you not coming into the house? And I felt like I needed to make my mom understand that I was not there and that I was not lying to her. So I had to tell her the truth. And I said, Mom, you know what? I have been diagnosed with colon cancer, colorectal cancer. I have cancer in my rectum, and I'm going to start my chemo and radiation treatments on Monday. So there's no possible way I could be in your garage. Now, put Dad on the phone and he'll tell you that, and he'll verify my story. So she buzzed my dad. My dad got on the phone, and we told my mom again what was going on and what I was going through. And she apologized to me and was sorry and said good luck and hung up the phone, and I was able to talk to my dad. So I have all of this in my head, going through all my treatments, and in a whirlwind of everything I went through, having to tell my daughter that I had cancer and not really knowing how to tell your child that you have cancer, but you're going to fight it, and that it was, something I could beat. Anyway, I wanted just to start this, and I'm going to continue talking about this more each week. So my journey is that I was diagnosed and I was about ready to start my chemo and radiation. I had to tell my daughter, my employers, had to explain to my mom that I didn't really think I had wanted to do, and had most amazing support. But I'll get more into that in my next video.